everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen, and in this video I'm doing the Meowin About Books tag. Quite a long time ago, Eric over at Break Even Books made the Barkin' Bout Books tag in honor of his dog, who had just recently died, and a while later another booktuber created the Meowin About Books tag. I'll link both of those videos down below. But yeah, unfortunately, around New Year's time, Princess Mako, who has been featured here in some videos on this channel, passed away, and so I thought I would do the Meowin' About Books tag to kind of acknowledge here on the channel that she is unfortunately gone. I'm gonna try to find some footage of her to include in the video, but I haven't set that up yet, so I don't know if that'll end up happening. But jumping right into the tag, the first prompt is catnip. What is an addictive book or series that you devoured? And the most recent book that comes to mind still that I really just immediately fell in love with and could not stop reading was The First Girl Child by Amy Harmon. I read this one for the first time last year, and I just loved this fantasy world that she created in this book. Unfortunately, I read the companion novel this year and I did not love it as much, but this one is still an addictive read. Prompt number 2 is litter box. What is a book that is so stinky you want to bury it in the sand? And for me, that is Bridge of Clay by Marcus Zuzak. This book is just so long and rambling and boring, and I don't get the point, and it was extra disappointing because I love The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. So yeah, this one was a bit of a turd for me. Prompt number 3 is scratching post. What is a nonfiction book that you go back to sharpen your mind? And for me, that is On Writing Well by William Zinsser. I am an editor, aspiring writer, and so this is my go-to book whenever I kind of want to freshen up my writing skills. It's a classic and very good and helpful. And I first read it in college for my journalism classes. Prompt number 4 is mouse. What is a short book that you like to play with and then devour? And for me, that is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. This is just such a cute little read with such adorable artwork inside, and you can really just zoom right through it, and it's a real mood booster. Prompt number 5 is hairball. What is a book that you liked the first time you read it, but then it made you vomit? And I wouldn't say that this one makes me vomit now, but I am gonna go with Maximum Ride by James Patterson. I picked this one because I recently had this one on my to be reread shelf, and I just didn't want to reread it. I remember liking the first one quite a bit, but it had major series drop off. I stopped reading these books after the 3rd book, and so when it came time to reread them, I just didn't want to do it, and I ended up unhauling them instead. Prompt number 6 is attitude. Name a main character with the attitude of a cat. And for this one, I'm going with Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. And I'm not picking Katniss just for the pun. Throughout this series, there is this connection between Katniss and her sister's cat, Buttercup. They hate each other because they are so similar to each other, and there's this whole thing in the 3rd book where Katniss is playing with the cat with a flashlight, and the cat's going crazy because it's almost in the cat's reach but not quite, and she realizes that this is what President Snow is doing to her with PETA. So there's that whole deep thing with the cat, and then there's an event that happens towards the end that draws her and the cat kind of together, and they finally kind of love each other in a weird way. There's a strange amount of connection between Katniss and her sister's cat, Buttercup, that made me feel like Katniss was the perfect candidate for this question. Prompt number 7 is perfect. Name a book or series that has no flaws for you. And for this one, I'm going with The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. This is one of my top 10 favorite books of all time. I feel like the decision to have it narrated by death was just genius. This is such an emotional read. The writing is so spectacular, I just love this book. Prompt number 8 is
Hello,
Hiss.
Mako.
Pick your favorite
You wanna join
horror
the
or
video?
scary book.
Mako,
And
wanna
I'm not
say
super
hello?
into horror books, so I'm going with The Green Mile by Stephen King, even though I don't think this book is really scary. I don't know if this really technically should be categorized as horror, but I think it is, partly because it's written by Stephen King, and it's by far my favorite that is close to the horror genre. And finally, prompt number 9 is 9 Lives. Pick a series
First, we
that you
have
loved,
Princess
then
Mako.
hated, then
She's a
loved
bit
again.
sassy.
And for me, this would be Three Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake. Much like The First Girl Child, I fell in love with this fantasy world when I read the first book, maybe even more so than The First Girl Child. I really was excited about this series, and then the second book was a huge disappointment. The series did not go the direction I wanted. The second book was kind of boring. I didn't like the world building that was in the second book. Just kind of everything fell apart for me in the second book. But then I really enjoyed the third book again. Almost as much as the first one, but not quite as much. And then the fourth book was just okay. So this was a real roller coaster of a series for me. And yeah, that was it for the Meowin About Books tag. I hope you enjoyed watching, and now on to the quote for today's video, which today I have one from Ferris Bueller, and it goes, "The question isn't, what are we going to do? The question is, what aren't we going to do?" Thanks for watching. Remember, words matter.